What's up, everybody? It's Charles. Today we are getting the R32 ready for its most epic road trip yet. Alright, in this video I'm going to show you guys how to get your car ready to take it on a road trip. The road trip we're going on next with this car is going to be a drive up to Cincinnati to rally up with my buddies Eric the Car Guy, Chris Fix, Matt Moran Motoring, and of course, my dude, Engineering Explained. We are going to have a meetup out in Cincinnati. Then we are going to zoom on up to Indianapolis for the Indy 500, and this is amazing, and we're going to have our own little car show right out front of the museum at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But before any of that happens, we got to get this old girl ready to go. The drive from here to Eric's shop's right about 9 hours, then another 2 or so up to Indianapolis. So I'm going to be putting about 1,100 miles on this car in that week of driving. Also, big thanks to Shell for sponsoring this video and putting this whole trip together. Without them, we wouldn't have been able to make this happen. They're celebrating a new formulation of the Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium fuel. But more on that fuel later. Let's first get into prepping this car for the road trip. We are first going to start with basic maintenance. Now, it's important that we do this kind of stuff about a week or two before our road trip. That way, if we find something wrong or run into any issues, we have time to fix it. Now, if you just did a service on your car, just an oil change, don't worry about it, you're good to go. But if you're gonna come anywhere near your service mileage interval on the trip, go ahead and do it before you go. The services that I like to do, or at least inspect before the road trip, are going to be an engine oil change, tire rotate and balance as needed, inspect the engine air filter, inspect the pollen filter, a coolant service if you need it. Also, if there's anything that's a little bit beyond basic maintenance, like a brake fluid service, transmission service, or a timing belt, we want to go ahead and get that done too. Doing it a week or so beforehand gives us extra time to also inspect our brakes, tires, make sure we don't have any fluid leaks, suspension components, axle boots, wiper blades. Wiper blades is a big one I think a lot of people forget. So we want to look at all that stuff before we go on our trip, and we don't have to rush at the last minute to get this stuff replaced. Next up, we're going to be doing a visual inspection on the entire car. Some of this may overlap with the basic maintenance part, but that's okay if we double check it. Here we want to think just a little bit beyond under the hood. We want to be inspecting our lighting. We want to look at our spare tire and make sure it's there, make sure that our toolkit's there, make sure if we have wheel locks, we have our wheel lock. This might even be a really good time to practice changing that tire if you've never done it before. That way you don't have to learn on the fly on the side of the road. I also like to do things like make sure my heat works, make sure my air conditioning works, make sure my heated seats work depending on time of year. Next up is going to be the one that's not real exciting and it's kind of boring, but it's the one that can save you maybe even the most. And that's making sure we have all of our paperwork for our car. Things like our insurance card, our registration. If you have AAA, which I think if you're going on a lot of road trips, maybe consider it. If you know the route you're going to take, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and print it out, fold it up, and stuff it in the glove box. This way you have a backup copy. Also not a bad idea to share that route with someone else that's not coming on the trip. All right, now that we have done all of our checks leading up to our car, we fixed all the problems that we could find anyway, time to talk about the fun stuff, the stuff we're actually bringing on our road trip. This is going to depend a little bit on the car that you drive. We're driving the R32, so there's going to be some tools specific to a VW and the R32. If we're taking a Toyota Camry, they might be a little bit different. The important thing is to think about the kind of repairs that we may do stuck in a parking lot or on the side of the road. Most of us are probably not going to be rebuilding engines on the side of the road, although that may make an awesome episode of a YouTube video. So we want to think about the easy things: a loose battery cable, a bulb going out, a flat tire, which is probably the most common one, a coolant leak. That's the kind of things that we want to be thinking about repairing on the side of the road when we're packing up our tools. Also, I bring a lot of extra tools that I hopefully will never need, but I also bring them just in case someone else needs help as well. So here's a rundown of some of the stuff I always bring on my road trips. Basic hand tools that are applicable to the car. So a couple ratchets, a variety of sockets, maybe a set of wrenches, screwdrivers. For me in the VW world, I'm bringing Torx bits and I'm bringing triple squares. A flashlight. Actually, I bring like 7 flashlights usually. jumper cables. And in addition to jumper cables, I'm bringing one of those small lithium-ion jump packs. Also, make sure that they're charged. The last time I went to use mine, it was totally dead. Things like your fold-out triangle, so that if you do have to pull over, you can warn other drivers. Of course, extra fluids, extra engine oil, extra coolant, power steering fluid if your car has that is not a bad idea. I like to bring these unopened, that way we don't have to worry about them spilling. I like to bring some glass cleaner and a couple of rags because no doubt you're gonna get a ton of bug guts on your windshield and your headlights. Rags, gloves, a tire pressure gauge, anything else really that'll fit in my tool bag. I also bring my impact with a 17mm socket, and since the R32 doesn't even have a spare tire under here, we're going to bring a spare wheel and tire assembly that will fit over the front and the rear brakes. You could easily load up your entire car with all the tools that you might need: a power inverter, which I usually bring, a tiny air compressor, which I usually bring, all the stuff, right? We just want to make sure that we're being smart about what we bring so that we can maximize the space in our car, but also bail ourselves out of a jam. All right, our checks are done. Our car is loaded up. Before we hit the road, it's time for one more round of checks. And we're just going to basically do everything again. We're going to check our engine oil, our coolant, our power steering fluid, our brake fluid, our washer fluid. We're going to make sure our tires are properly inflated. We also want to double check and make sure that they're still in good repair. Our alignment's not way out. These are a little wonky because they've been in the autocross course a ton of times, but they're going to get us there just fine. And if they don't, got the spare tire in the trunk. We got all of our emergency supplies, of course, first aid kit as well. We also have our car packed in a way that when we take corners, all this stuff isn't gonna go sliding all over the place. We also have it packed in a way that when we shut the trunk, you're not gonna know there's anything else packed inside of this car. Out-of-state plates tend to stand out, and we don't wanna draw any unnecessary attention to our car. So this is it, we're good to go. Time to shut her down for the night, and we're gonna hit the road at, 4 a.m. tomorrow morning.
It is 3:30 in the morning, about to set sail on an epic road trip to meet up with some other dudes in Cincinnati. It should be an awesome time. I have a question. What do you guys think I'm going to get fuel economy-wise in the R32? Well, about 4.5 or so hours from Eric's shop. Just gave away $100 worth of free fuel. We're going to hit the road for another 4.5 hours. All right, there we have it. The car's off. That's why the check engine light's on. For those of you that guessed 25.0 miles per gallon on the nose, congratulations. Just rolled up to that guy's shop, and look at how many bug guts are on my windshield. Ugh, yuck.
Once we got to Eric's shop and did a shakedown of all of our cars, we all headed out for a fan meetup at a local Shell station. What an incredible meetup. You guys are so awesome. And I got to give away a bunch of free fuel, which hooking you guys up with stuff is one of my favorite things. Now that the meetup is over, it's time to head to Indianapolis and we'll probably play the Dodge the Pothole game. All right, so rolled up to the hotel, got our cars parked. Luckily, we were able to park all together. Time to chill out and get ready for our car show tomorrow. All right, so today we have a police escort from our hotel to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're gonna do another fan meetup and have a car show right in front of the Indy 500 Museum. I'm not the type of dude that is super into car shows, but this is incredible. Of course, the Indy 500 weekend is really one of the biggest spectacles in motorsports. The race was incredible, came down to the very last feet of the track, and since Simon won with Team Penske, we all got to roll down to the winner's circle and hang out there. Oh, and tech tip, if they tell you to wear red, you need to wear red. Chris and I almost didn't make it down because neither one of us were wearing red. So all in all, an epic trip. A lot of time and effort went into organizing and planning this event. It's been years in the making. I promise you guys we were gonna talk about fuels. When we talk about gasoline, it's not just the fuel that powers our engines. All gasoline also has additive packages in it, things like detergents. This new formulation of Shell focuses on 4 main areas: gunk or carbon buildup, corrosion, wear, and friction. I want to focus mostly on gunk because that's something in the direct injection world is insanely common. There is no fuel that will solve the carbon buildup problem on the back of the intake valves on direct injection engines, because fuel never touches those valves. But what is important on direct injection or port injection is keeping our injector tips clean and our piston crowns clean. This can lead to a more complete combustion and a better running engine. And if it is port injection like my R32, you also do get that valve cleaning benefit. All of Shell's fuels, regular, mid-grade, and high test, do have these additive packages, but the newest additive package is in the highest concentration on shelf premium fuel. Now you may be thinking, Charles, that's great, so I gotta use premium fuel or high test, right? That's always the best. Well, not necessarily. You wanna use the fuel that your vehicle manufacturer recommends. Now, if your car's modified, you wanna make sure you're using the proper fuel for your tune. My R32 requires premium fuel and it's tuned. So she needs premium, dude! Premium! Dude! We can really see the benefit of this new fuel in Shell's dual fuel truck. This vehicle has two different fuel systems. One bank uses Shell, the other, another brand's premium fuel. And what's neat is you're testing it in the exact same conditions on bank 1 and bank 2. So you really get a good comparison. Boy, do I wish we could do this kind of comparison with something like a catch can. So cool stuff, always neat to see things like gasoline, which we generally don't put a ton of thought into when we fill up our car, still being innovated, still being improved to keep up with modern engine technology. So awesome weekend, awesome road trip, put about 1,100 miles on the R32, and she did fantastic. If you were at one of the meetups, big thanks to you. It's for you guys that we do this stuff, and it's great to be able to meet you guys in person, face to face, and hang out and chat about cars. Also, cheers to my buddies Eric, Chris, Matt. Jason, I'm a little bummed that you're selling the S2000, but it will go to a good home, no doubt. As always, questions or comments, drop them down below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you again next time.